With y'all, I'm back again with another one. I saw this crazy video and it was called 70% surge in foreclosures. I thought it was really interesting, so I figured we'd go and we'd react to it. I've got a couple points on what's going on with the foreclosures in the market. So without further ado, we're gonna take a look and let's get into this now.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. You guys, today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers, and I'm going to need your help to figure out what exactly is going on. Now, what this video is going to be on is the 700% surge in foreclosure starts and why no
Notice those is his words, not mine.
one is really reporting on this. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the data. We're going to analyze the data, and we're going to try to get to the core of what the real problem is, because what I believe, you guys, is that the data that we have is tainted because of all of the COVID shutdowns, the stimulus, the foreclosure ban, and all of those things. I believe that data is deceiving, and what is going to end up happening is the powers that be, the politician, the government is only going to pass the buck. And really the reality of the problem is much worse than we all realize, because what we have going on here is not only the surge in foreclosures, we also have no more stimulus, and we have a surge of inflation and soon to be property tax hikes. So we're going to go over all of that data, you guys. We're going to look at a map, we're going to look at the statistics, and also at the end of the video I'm going to share with you my opinion. But before the opinion I'm going to share with you is I'm going to look at one more set of data that is actually,
all right, we're going to skip a couple steps because
you're
doing a lot of talking.
Subscribe. So here's the article from Market Watch. Let's read this together, okay? Realtor.com senior economist George, I am with the slow reading group, I cannot pronounce that last name, George R., says the uptick in foreclosures during January is an early signal that many of the regulatory protections implemented during the pandemic to help Americans stay in their homes are starting to wear off.
And before we get too deep into this video, I disagree with what he's saying. So we're gonna see what he has to say, and then I'm gonna give my points.
Indeed, millions of people got mortgage forbearances during the pandemic that put their mortgage payments on hold. That's important to note. Most of them got back on their feet and ended their forbearances in 2020 and 2021 pro se. That's really key. We'll get back to that here in a second. Now, the people who remained in forbearances into 2022 might be more likely to be suffering permanent financial hardships. I wonder if it's from the inflation. When their forbearances end, they're less likely to be able to resume their payments and more likely to end up in foreclosure, says Halden Lewis, home and mortgage expert at NerdWallet. What's more, for many, the forbearance period is scheduled to come to a close soon, and there's a backlog of loans who are either in loss mitigation or past due even after coming out of mitigation, which may still enter foreclosure in the months ahead. So essentially, you guys, it's kind of covering the fact that a lot of this data is from people that were in forbearance that, quite frankly, they didn't even need to be in forbearance. If you guys remember, during the COVID lockdown, many of us had the option to put our mortgages on hold without penalty. And I don't know a lot of people that are going to refuse that. Now, I myself, I looked into it. I called my mortgage lender, and they said we could actually stop paying. Right? And what would happen is the payments would be tacked on to the back of the loan. Now, my wife and I decided not to do that.
And that's the interesting thing, because I don't obviously have a mortgage, but if the opportunity came up for me to save money and not pay the mortgage and put it on the back end, that's what I would have done, because waiting on this market to crash, which, I mean, it's dropped about 60-70%. It would have been a great time to invest that money into something else. And it wasn't like you needed to save up that money, because they just put the rest of the loan on the back end. And then the thing about it is your house, like everyone's house, went up hundreds of thousands of dollars this year because of the housing market shortage. So let's see.
We continue to make our mortgage payment, but millions of people decided to put their mortgage in forbearance. And that is why I'm telling you guys that the data that we're analyzing is tainted. The reality of this situation is much worse, but it doesn't appear that way, because it appears a whole bunch of people are getting out of forbearance when the reality is they should have never been in forbearance to begin with. Many people did that
Okay.
to, quite frankly, save money. And because everyone was freaked out of COVID, no one knew what was really going to happen. Okay. Now, what I'm going to pull up now is some really, really good data that I want to analyze together with you from Black Knight. They're a very big data company for mortgages, defaults, and foreclosures. So we're going to pull up a chart right now and we're going to analyze this together. Okay, guys, so take a look at this chart here. This is from Black Knight. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. Now, I've highlighted here just some information. Now, if you look, this is the key thing here. Okay, foreclosure starts. Okay, this is as of January 2022. Okay, 32,900 more foreclosure starts. That's an increase of 702%. And what is important to note is this is as of January. Now, if you guys recall, what has happened after January? More inflation, more inflation, more inflation, the war with Ukraine, the war with Russia. So the fact of the matter is, as of January, we have a 700% increase. What's going to happen in February and March? Now that it's more expensive to live, now that food has skyrocketed, now that gas prices have skyrocketed.
And that's kind of interesting because I always wonder, like, when people, you always have to question when people bring up stats, including if I bring them up myself, because where did this 700% come from? What are you comparing that to? Is that 700% compared to last year? Because they weren't doing foreclosures, so the number is gonna look crazy because there were houses even before the pandemic that needed to be foreclosed on that we just didn't foreclose on because the government said no. So I think that 700% number is pretty interesting, but I'm gonna let them continue and we'll see how it goes.
Interest rates have skyrocketed. Property taxes for homes are fixing to skyrocket. How much worse is this going to get? Well, let's go back to this data right now. Now, as you can see here, this is a yearly change of foreclosure starts of 457%.
Which, once again, if you compare it to last year where there weren't any foreclosures, then it should be a crazy number. And if any percent should be crazy because they didn't do it last year.
But a monthly change of 702%, which is seriously scary. Okay. Now, that's a total of 1.89% of mortgages put in a forbearance or actually a delinquent status on their homes, which is astonishing to me. But let's keep going. Okay. Now, this is what I really want you to see. Let's go over here to this graph to the start of January 2021. Okay, this is the delinquency column. Okay, so the delinquency column shows 5.85% January of 2021. If we fast forward to January 2022, it shows only 3.30%.
So it went down.
And what it looks like is we are doing better with delinquencies. There's less people in delinquencies, but the reality is, look at this number here, 32,900 more delinquencies as compared to over here, January 2021. Only 5,900 delinquencies or foreclosure starts. So even though this percentage is higher for delinquencies, the foreclosure starts are only 5,900. But how can that be if this number is only 3.3%, but the foreclosure starts are 32,900? Okay. The reason that is the data is tainted. The reason why the delinquencies are 5.85% in January 2021 is, like I said, more people that did not need to go in forbearance went in forbearance to save money because, I mean, it wasn't a bad thing to save money. It was just an option. Again, I didn't do it. I called just to get the information during COVID, just in case we needed to, but we didn't need to.
So I just looked it up. The forbearance ended June. The forbearance from obviously the mortgage forbearance ended June 30th, 2021. And I mean, give it a couple months.
So we opted.
It's about 6 months, 7. So banks, if you couldn't afford to pay your home, they'd start to close.
Not to do that. But as you can see, you guys, this data is super tainted. It appears that we had roughly a 2.5% decrease in delinquencies, when the reality is that is not true, because we now have 32,900 people with foreclosure starting. This data is so off, it is mind-blowing to me. Let's take a look at another map right now from Black Knight. All right, you guys, take a look at this jewel right here. And this is why I believe that this is kind of getting swept under the rug, okay? So this is a 2-year change in foreclosure starts. So
The green is above 2020 levels. The blue is below 2020 levels.
Comparing January 2022 to January 2020, okay? Now, it appears, look at this, it appears that we have way less foreclosure starts, right? Look at Texas, negative 12%. Look at California, this is a joke, negative 42%. Look at all of, these negatives mean that less people have foreclosure starts, which should be a good thing, except for these green states. This is astonishing to me. Look at this here, look at this here. They're in bad shape, super bad shape, plus 32%, plus 19%. So this is bad. The pluses are super bad. Oklahoma, super bad. But look at all the, look at the East Coast, negative 52, negative 56, negative 91, negative 21, negative 42, negative 42, negative 48.
Those are all the places people want to live.
So what this would indicate is that we are in good shape, that people are getting out of foreclosure starts. They are catching up on their mortgages and things of that nature. But again, this is comparing data that in my mind is not accurate. COVID shutdown was not a naturally occurring thing. Because of that shutdown, again, this data is skewed. The reality of this is everyone should be plus a certain number, because it's not really fair to compare what happened during the shutdown with what is happening now that we are open. Do you guys see my point here? So that map, I believe, is just being used to, again, pass the buck, okay? That's really kind of scary. Now let's look at another map right now from Black Knight. Now this is more, in my eyes, this is more of a clear reality of how bad a shape we are actually in for foreclosures. Now, remember what I said, you guys, this is only of January. Things have already gotten much worse in just a 2-month period of time. Things have gotten much, much worse in a 2-month period of time. So what's going to happen 6 months down the road? Now, look at this. Here's the actual foreclosure starts. 4% in Texas. Look at this, 7.8% here, 6.8% here, 2% in California, 3.8% in Florida. This is crazy. 3.6 Louisiana, 5.1. So, in my eyes, that's a lot of people. 4 out of 100 people having a foreclosure start. To me, that signals impending doom, you guys, because there's so many things that are going to happen in 2022 that make the cost of living even harder. And
my thing that I find interesting is he's saying it's the end for people, but I don't understand. If you, from what the videos that I've watched, and I think we're going to look at a video like that as well. If you had to choose, if you're getting behind, first of all, most homes, like I said previously, have a ton of equity because of the rise in the housing market. The shortage of houses has made most of these houses, if you were living in a house before the pandemic, then your house has went up in value. So not only could you refinance that and take money out and be able to pay your home, but say you didn't want to go, like if you're a person that's actually living in that home, if you didn't want to get foreclosed on, you would simply sell your house. And guess what? It's a ton of people trying to buy houses right now because there's a housing shortage. So it should be nobody that's actually living in the home that is having an issue when it comes to foreclosure.
I'm afraid of is the government is going to create more stimulus. They're going to take steps backwards on the interest rate hike, which is going to further push up inflation. And if we get in a stagflation situation, it's going to be even worse, possibly even a depression, because they do need to fight inflation. But my fear, like I've been saying, is it's too late to fight inflation.
Oh, I didn't shout this guy out. Whose video am I recording on? It's a guy named Real Estate Mindset. So this is his channel. It's a small channel, but he got pretty decent amount of views. So that's him right there. Shout outs to him for this video, even though I disagree with what he's saying. But we'll keep it rocking.
And now, that's really the foreclosure data, you guys. It's a much worse situation. Now, what that's going to do to the housing market is, obviously, it's going to put more inventory in the housing market. It's going to put more pressure on the toxic sellers market to turn into a buyer's market, okay? But one thing I also want to take a look at is why I think the foreclosure situation is much worse, because a lot of people have been comparing and basically saying that 2022 housing market is nowhere near the 2008 housing market because of the quality of buyers that we had as a result of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act and
Right.
qualified mortgages. Now, while that is true, what I have noticed is what is the same is the homeowners are recklessly spending money just like in 2008.
I don't know if he's going to touch on that, but there's still a big difference because in 2008, a lot of people were taking out variable interest rate loans. So when it came time for them to raise the interest rates, that rate that you had that was 2% now is 5%, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars extra a month that your home cost compared to what it cost when you first got in. So debt was cheap and people just continued to get more and more houses. But now people have learned from 2008. And if I had to choose from a 2% interest rate variable pitch loan or versus a 3% fixed rate, I'm going to pick the 3% fixed rate because I know that my payment for the loan is going to continue to stay the same. So people aren't making these 2008 mistakes because if people had actually picked the fixed rate loans, there might not have been a crash in 2008 in the first place. So that's actually what happened, but we'll see what he's.
Even though to purchase a home, you have to be better qualified. You don't have to be better qualified to own the home. And I want you guys to look at this chart right now, and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so this chart is an equity withdrawal via cash out refinances. Now, in 2006 and 2007, people were using their homes, which should be a great investment, even a retirement investment, as an ATM machine. So people would do a quick refinance and take out a whole bunch of money. Now, this is showing you here. Now, look at 2005 Q2. Look at this. So these charts are all the way up here for the refinance cash out, which ultimately led to this horrible, crash right here.
But once again, the difference between that first crash and if there was going to be a crash right now is they were taking out refinancing their homes with variable interest rate loans, and they're not doing that now. So as long as you can afford your payment now on a fixed loan, it's not going to go up more like it would with a variable interest rate loan. So that's the big difference.
In 2008 into 2009. Now, if we fast forward to today, look at how much money people are cashing out. I think this is over $80 billion in cash out. So people right now, what they're doing is they have cashed out their equity. People are pulling out a ton of money. And this is as of Q4 of 2021.
They should be investing it, but we know Americans, they're not going to invest it. But at the end of the day, like I said, as long as you can afford to make the payment in the first place, you can go out and spend the money recklessly if you want to, but your payment's going to stay the same. So as long as you have a job, and everybody's got a job right now, this market's going to be fine.
So we don't have Q1 of 2022 yet, but I suspect when the report for Q1 of 2022, we're going to see an outrageous amount of cash out as well. And when people cash out and they can't afford that payment anymore because of inflation, they can't sell their home because they're upside down in equity. And when people
they can't afford that home anymore because of inflation, I don't know. Y'all got to comment below and let me know, because I don't think, I am looking, obviously I'm very cheap. I noticed the difference between milk going up and all these different things going up. But the thing is, you're still people still have the money to pay for their homes. That's just, I don't see that being a problem, and unemployment's at an all-time low. So, I mean, you guys, these people are trying to give out jobs. And if there's a problem with your home, you definitely can get another job.
People are upside down in equity. That's going to create foreclosures. And if we get too much inventory too quickly in our housing,
they're also saying that inventory isn't going to pick up speed anytime soon. So there's not going to be this excess inventory, because the issue with that is now that they've given out all of these loans for really, really cheap interest rates, like 2-3%, people aren't incentivized to move, because if they move and they sell their house, now they need to find another house to live in. So there's people a few months ago that were getting home loans and refinance loans for 2.5%. Now Based off the numbers, I mean, if you bought a house in California, the lowest you could get, I think they were saying, was 4.77%. And that 2% interest rate is a lot of money. So people don't plan on moving like that, because if you move, you're going to have to move into another house. And if you move into another house, you're going to have to get another loan for that. And people don't want to lose the 2.5 interest rate that they already have.
Market, it's going to be an immediate flip into a buyer's market. And if it turns into a buyer's market, housing crash. Housing crash will happen right now. And it's important to understand this, you guys. When I say a housing market crash, what I am referring to, not explosions and things on fire, right? I'm referring to negative equity growth. Now, here's my overall opinion that I want to share with you guys, right?
And once again, I refinanced my house November last year from 6% to 2.5%. You see what I'm saying? People like, what's his name say? Patchy, he's not moving. He's not going anywhere. Why would you lose that 2.5%? The difference between 2.5% and a 6% interest rate is a huge difference. Like, I would stay still.
My overall opinion is it is going to get worse and worse from here on out because of higher inflation.
I've heard enough.
Food,
I mean, it's 2 minutes left of that video.
You can't hold on forever.
This is my guy, Anton Daniels. He also went into, he was saying why foreclosures are up more than 70%. More people are losing their homes and going broke. Okay, let's roll it and see what he's talking about.
You can't hold on forever. Listen, if you
Anton, the money
all
man.
of the moratoriums and the hold offs and everything like that was going, and people were in mortgage forbearance, and what happened was they put it off, and some people extended it. First it was 6 months, then they extended to 12 months, and then depending on what your situation is and if you work with your mortgage lender, it extended all the way to 24 months, which is essentially 2 years or longer.
Cool.
And now a lot of these 33,000, the mortgage companies is just salivating. They're waiting to get their hands on this. But this should tell you or point to a bigger picture, and that the economy and things.
But we know Biden allowed people to add those 2 years, the 6 to 2 years that he's talking about. People, because I'm one of those guys. I want to get a home too. Like, I don't want to rent, but he came out with a bill or whatever it was that allowed people to take those years and put them on the back end of their loan. So it's not like you owe 2 years of mortgage payments. Like, you just start making your payments now.
Just because you see all of these stories of housing prices and inventory, and a lot of people are moving out, and millennials are buying the majority of these homes, they're over leveraged. They live in check to check. And ultimately, when they find themselves in a pickle and stuff like the 2020 pandemic happens,
I was like, what?
In the housing market. You reading that right? That's courtesy of Market Watch. It's a lot that went on this week. I'm mad that I had to cancel the show last Monday because it was a lot that I needed to get to. Foreclosures are up 70%. Real talk. Check it out. In January, there was a 7-fold. What does that tell you before we?
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I watched this already, so I'm gonna move on because he was pretty much saying similar things, like the home rate is going up. I've also it's almost time for me to go. I've also watched this video, and this was one I'm gonna skip to the part where I thought you guys should see, because he breaks down why the housing market isn't going to collapse like we're talking
in this market. And that's why you're seeing, 64% of homes sell above the asking price. Now, why do I bring this up? Because if you're a buyer in the current market, you need to know how to navigate it. You can't go out there expecting to make lowball offers on properties. You can't go out there expecting, hey, I'm not going to see the property this weekend. It just came on the market. I'll wait till next weekend to see it. Now, I'm not telling you need to go out and buy a home. That's not it at all. I want to inform you so that you know how to navigate it, right? If you're a home buyer out there, a serious home buyer that's looking to take advantage and buy a home this year, you need to know what the market's doing. And currently, the market is moving fast. So if you're thinking you're just going to wait for homes to reduce their prices or sit on the market and then you'll make an offer, chances are you're going to miss out. Only 13% of the homes in California had a price drop. which to me, the number actually seems high, but the reality is you don't know what that price drop was. Was it $1,000? Was it $5,000? Was it $10,000? How much was it overpriced to start with? So you've got to know the numbers in your area, know what the market's doing. If you're one of those people out there, that comments on my videos all the time and says that you're waiting for, foreclosures to come to the market, you're going to be waiting a long time, right? The average homeowner has $184,000 of tappable equity.
You see what I'm saying, Patchy? Like, I don't know if they coming. The average homeowner has $185,000 in equity. And that's just because of the demand. It brought everybody's home up. So I don't know if these foreclosures are coming, and I definitely want one. What is that? Right. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? No sound. Let me see. Oh, let's check this out. My bad, y'all. Little technical difficulties. Let's see. That's ghetto of me. I got ya. Should be back up. No, is it not back up? Why is that? Oh, let me see. Okay. My bad. I'm going to kick it back from probably like 10, 20 seconds. That should be good.
It's natural for the market to have pullbacks, but I don't think you're going to see crashes. And so if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for the pullback, just understand there's a lot of people in your position doing the same thing. So if you do see a pullback in
That's
say
me.
10, 15%, maybe even 20% in home prices, which I don't expect, but if you did see it, there's a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines that would love to buy into that market. So the competition is still going to be fierce. It's not like there's...
So basically, even if there is a foreclosure, a whole bunch of foreclosures that come on the market, we gonna all be competing against each other anyway, because everybody that I know wants to buy a house, but they don't want to buy it at the top of the market and then it drop, and then now you're underwater on a property. So I think that's interesting. So I feel like as long as they continue, I don't understand why there's a shortage in houses. There hasn't been a ton of people born in the last 2 years. And now, I just feel like it has something to do a lot what's going on at the top. And obviously it's above my pay grade. So I don't know why the houses are going up, because I feel like the demand in 2019 was probably the same demand And shout outs to you for subscribing, my guy. But the demand in 2019 is probably the same as the demand has been in 2020 and 2021. It might have went up a ton because there's 2 years where people weren't buying houses, but at the end of the day, I feel like we should be able to manage this demand and get back to normal.
There's going to be no competition if home prices pull back. You're still going to have a lot of buyers out there looking to buy property. The millennials that we talked about, the move up, move down buyers. As more inventory comes on the market, you're going to get more people willing to sell their homes too. That's another reason that inventory is not building. As homeowners out there at the moment that are potential sellers, they're looking at the market going, why would I sell my home? I have nowhere to go.
That's
so
what I said.
if they saw a property that they might want to move into, there's likely to be, their home listed on the market, but they're a 1-for-1 trade. They're selling their home and buying another one. So it doesn't really create any new inventory, so to speak. So while I have my concerns about home affordability and home prices, the market is still moving full steam ahead. So just know, if you're a buyer, you have a long-term time horizon, 5, 7, 10 years. I've mentioned in many videos, 10 years is ideal. You're able to, withstand any pullbacks, any drops in the market. Now, if you're somebody that's looking to hold short-term, 2-3 years, we're, at peak prices. It would be a little bit more concerning. If I was planning on, buying a home and only owning it for 2 years, I probably would second guess buying at the moment. I would maybe just see what the market does. But that doesn't mean that home prices don't continue to rise, and doesn't mean they can't pull back.
From what I'm hearing is because there's a housing shortage and builders aren't building as much. I'm hearing that it's going to continue to rise. That's just what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Don't know where they're going to pull back from. So as a home buyer, just make sure you can afford the payment, you have money in the bank, you're not stretching yourselves, and you have a longer term time horizon. And at the end of the day, you'll be happy that you bought a house. There's a reason that homeowners have a 44 times greater net worth than those of renters. And owning real estate is a key component of that 44 times greater net worth. So just make sure you're buying for the right reasons. You're not getting caught up in FOMO and doing things because other people are doing them. You're doing them for the right reasons. Now, I want to take a minute here and ask a favor. If you found any value in this content at all, hit the thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel if you want to stay updated on everything real estate related. Now, if you're a home buyer in California, or maybe you're somewhere across the country watching this video, what are you seeing in your market? If you're putting in offers on properties, what are you seeing? Are you seeing multiple offer situations?
My dad's trying to get a home, and I think I'm done with that, Jebs. Y'all can check him out. He was trying to get a home, and I mean these houses, these offers that he's putting in, because he's ready to get out of the city, and hopefully he doesn't sell the house I grew up in, but he wants to move. So I don't know, like the offers that he's been putting in, I mean 30,000-40,000 above asking price easily. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I definitely don't think there's a foreclosure crash coming soon because of what I'm hearing and because of what people that I know that are trying to buy homes, they're all experiencing the same thing. So I can't imagine someone would get behind their rent and then not be able to pay. The people that are getting foreclosed on, from what I understand, are people that probably don't live in the home anymore. And then even then, if you can't get in contact with them or something because maybe, I don't know, maybe God forbid they passed away or something, that could be a different thing. But I don't know. Who knows? That's all I got for y'all. Like, people that are getting loans are qualified. It's not like in '08. Exactly. Like, these aren't people that don't have jobs or any of that stuff. So I don't foresee there being a foreclosure crash. Could be wrong. But appreciate y'all rocking with me. That's all I got for y'all. I'm about to go and do some constructive work. Not saying this isn't. But like, comment, share, subscribe, and I holla.